Trapped among the stars. The darkness between stars had never felt so oppressive. Captain Neira of the Vexaran refugee ship Horizon's Promise stood on the bridge, her iridescent scales shifting from calm blue to anxious purple as she studied the tactical display. 6 massive Imperial warships had formed a perfect blockade around her vessel, their weapons arrays glowing with deadly intent. "Engines?" she asked, already knowing the answer. First Officer Trell shook his head, the bioluminescent patches on his forehead dimming with resignation. "Still offline. The jump through the asteroid field damaged the core beyond our capacity to repair." The Horizon's Promise had never been designed for such desperate maneuvers. Once a scientific research vessel, it now carried the last 300 survivors of Vexara Prime, a world whose resources had caught the Empire's attention. When the Vexarans had protested the strip mining of their sacred mountains, the Empire had responded by making an example of their civilization. "Communications are hailing us," reported Zenith, her tentacle-like fingers trembling slightly over the console. "It's Admiral Voss." Neira straightened her spine, on screen. The viewscreen flickered to life, revealing the cold, calculated features of Imperial Admiral Voss. His humanoid face was marked with the distinctive implants of the Empire's elite, silver lines tracing from his temples to his jaw, eyes replaced with cybernetic enhancements that glowed an unnatural blue. "Captain Neira," he said, voice devoid of emotion, "your escape attempt has been amusing, but now it ends. The Empire requires your immediate surrender." "We are civilians, Admiral," Neira replied, keeping her voice steady. "Scientists, teachers, children, we seek asylum under the Galactic Charter." Voss's expression didn't change. "The Charter applies to recognized species. The Imperial Council has classified Vexarans as strategic resources, not sentients." His artificial eyes narrowed. "Your bodies contain rare elements vital to our quantum computing networks. You will be harvested." Shocked gasps echoed across the bridge. The Vexarans had suspected the Empire wanted their world's resources, but not that they themselves were the target. "You have 10 minutes to power down your shields for boarding," Voss continued. "Resistance will result in your ship's destruction. Either way, the Empire will have what it needs." The transmission cut abruptly. Trell turned to Neira, scales now a deep morning gray. "What do we do, Captain?" Neira looked around at her crew, scientists and explorers forced to become refugees. None of them were soldiers. Their ship carried no weapons that could even scratch an Imperial cruiser. "We will not surrender to become parts," she said finally. "Divert all remaining power to shields, move our people to the inner chambers. If this is our end, we face it together." It was a futile gesture. Their shields might last 20 minutes against Imperial weapons, but no more. Still, they would meet their fate with dignity. On the bridge of the Imperial flagship Dominance, Admiral Voss watched the countdown with clinical detachment. Status of extraction teams. "Ready, Admiral," his second-in-command reported. "Medical pods prepared for specimen preservation." "Excellent." Voss didn't smile, he rarely did since his final augmentation surgery, but satisfaction colored his tone. The Vexarans would provide enough rare materials to power a new generation of quantum processors. His promotion was all but guaranteed. "Sir," the tactical officer interrupted, "sensors detect an approaching vessel. Small signature, extreme velocity." Voss frowned. "Identification?" "Unknown, sir, not broadcasting any recognized codes. Size consistent with a single pilot craft, but the engine's signature. It's unlike anything in our database." "Irrelevant," Voss dismissed. "Probably a scavenger hopping to claim salvage rights, neutralize it if it interferes." As the Empire prepared its final strike, a streak of silver light flashed between two of the warships, moving at speeds that should have been impossible for controlled space. The vessel was unlike any the Empire had catalogued, sleek and angular, with a hull that seemed to ripple like liquid metal in the starlight. Aboard the Horizon's Promise, Zenith gasped, "Captain, look." On their viewscreen, the small craft danced between the Imperial ships, evading point-defense fire with impossible precision. "What is that?" Neira whispered. "Accessing database," the ship's AI reported. "Hull configuration matches human design." "Human," Trell echoed in disbelief. Humans were relative newcomers to interstellar space, only a century into their expansion. They were known for their adaptability and resourcefulness, but not for challenging the Empire directly. Most human worlds paid their tributes and kept their heads down. Inside the cockpit of the vessel, officially designated the Stormbreaker but called Storm by its pilot, Jackson Reed watched the Imperial formation through a neural interface that fed tactical data directly into his consciousness. Targeting solutions, shield frequencies, and weapon capacities streamed across his vision. 6 against 1, he muttered, a crooked smile forming on his weather-worn face. Better odds than I had at the Helix Nebula. Combat systems online, responded the ship's AI in a crisp, gender-neutral voice. Quantum field generators at optimal capacity. Stealth systems compromised due to our approach vector. Jackson flexed his hands inside the Neuralink gloves. Unlike conventional vessels, the Stormbreaker didn't have traditional controls. Through advanced neural technology, the ship functioned as an extension of his body. He didn't pilot it so much as become one with it. This is Jackson Reed of the independent vessel Stormbreaker, he broadcast on an open channel. Imperial Fleet, you are in violation of Section 4 of the Galactic Charter regarding the treatment of sentient beings. Stand down. Admiral Voss's response was immediate. Human, this is an Imperial security operation. Leave immediately or face destruction. Jackson's smile widened. I was hoping you'd say that. With a thought, he activated the Stormbreaker's primary weapon system, experimental technology stolen from an Imperial black site. The official designation was Quantum Resonance Manifold. The engineers who created it called it Starfire. Target locked, the AI confirmed, engaging. Aboard the Horizon's Promise, the Vexarans watched in amazement as the human vessel suddenly erupted with energy. Space around it distorted, rippling with cascading waves of golden light. The nearest Imperial ship, caught in the field, began to vibrate violently. Its hull plating buckled and energy surged through its systems in violent feedback loops. What is happening? Neira asked, her scales shifting to an astonished white. The human, Trell started, then stopped as the Stormbreaker executed an impossible turn and brought a second Imperial vessel into its field. The human is weaponizing the fundamental forces of space. Admiral Voss stood from his command chair as 2 of his ships broke apart, their hulls shredded by forces he couldn't comprehend. All vessels concentrate fire on the human, he ordered. Launch all fighters, I want that technology. The remaining Imperial ships opened fire, filling space with energy beams and projectiles. But the Stormbreaker moved with unnatural precision, threading through the barrage as if Jackson knew where each shot would be before it was fired. Captain, the Stormbreaker's AI reported to Jackson, the Vexaran vessel is attempting communication. Put them through, but keep the quantum field active. Captain Neira's voice filled his cockpit. Human vessel, this is Captain Neira of the Horizon's Promise. We don't understand why you're helping us, but we are grateful. Jackson executed another maneuver that brought the Stormbreaker slicing between 2 Imperial ships, his quantum field causing cascading failures in both. Let's just say I've seen enough worlds fall to the Empire, Captain. Your ship is badly damaged. Any chance you can move if I clear a path? Our drives are beyond repair, Neira admitted. We have 300 civilians aboard, many children. Jackson frowned. The Stormbreaker could accommodate perhaps 15 passengers in an emergency. He couldn't save them all, but he might be able to buy them time. Captain Neira, I'm going to clear these Imperial ships, then dock with you. We'll figure something out. As he spoke, the remaining Imperial vessels launched their fighter squadrons, dozens of smaller, agile ships designed to overwhelm a single opponent through sheer numbers. Jackson felt a familiar calm settle over him. Time to show them what this ship can really do, he whispered. The Stormbreaker surged forward, its quantum field expanding like wings of golden fire across the void. Where those wings touched, Imperial fighters disintegrated, their molecular bonds overwhelmed by fundamental forces run wild. Admiral Voss watched in cold fury as his fleet, one of the Empire's most elite units, was systematically dismantled by a single human in a ship that shouldn't exist. He had one final option. Prepare the Void Hammer, he ordered, voice dangerously soft. If we can't have the Vexarans or the humans' technology, no one will. As the battle raged, the Vexarans aboard the Horizon's Promise witnessed something they had thought impossible. One human turning the sky to fire, and in doing so giving them hope where there had been none. Symphony of destruction. The void around the Horizon's Promise had transformed from a battlefield into a graveyard of Imperial metal. Three massive warships drifted as powerless hulks, their weapon systems and engines shattered by the Stormbreaker's quantum field. Escape pods twinkled against the darkness, carrying survivors away from their ruined vessels. Jackson Reed had deliberately avoided destroying the ships completely. His quarrel wasn't with the rank-and-file soldiers who followed orders. The Stormbreaker circled the Vexaran refugee ship like a vigilant predator, its hull now bearing scorch marks and minor breaches from the few lucky shots that had found their mark. Inside the cockpit, Jackson wiped sweat from his brow, his neural interface feeding him damage reports directly into his consciousness. Port stabilizers at 60%, his AI reported. Hull integrity holding at 78%, 3 Imperial vessels remain operational. Jackson's eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. The remaining Imperial ships had pulled back, regrouping around Admiral Voss's flagship, the Dominance. That wasn't standard Imperial doctrine, they typically pressed advantages relentlessly. Something was wrong. Scan the flagship, he ordered. Look for unusual energy signatures. The AI complied instantly, detecting massive power buildup in the Dominance's central chamber, signature consistent with gravitational manipulation technology. Warning, readings exceed known Imperial weapon parameters by factor of 8. Jackson swore under his breath, the Void Hammer, they actually built it. The Void Hammer was supposed to be theoretical, a weapon that created a localized rupture in spacetime, generating artificial gravity waves powerful enough to tear apart molecular bonds. Jackson had seen the classified schematics during the raid on the Imperial Black Site where he'd stolen the quantum tech for the Stormbreaker. "Open a channel to the Vexaran ship," he said. Captain Neira's face appeared on his display, her scales now a mix of hopeful green and anxious purple. "Human, Jackson, 3 of our engineers are ready at the docking bay. What is your plan?" "Change of plans, Captain. The Empire is preparing to deploy a superweapon. We need to move now." He ran quick calculations through his neural link. "My ship can maybe take 20 of your people. You need to prepare them immediately." Neira's scales darkened. 20, we have 300 souls aboard. "I know, but we might have another option." Jackson's fingers danced across his neural interface. The Stormbreaker's quantum tech was originally designed by Imperial scientists to manipulate fundamental forces. "I think I can modify it to create a temporary envelope around your ship, essentially extending my quantum field to encapsulate the Horizon's promise." "And then what?" Neira asked. "And then we run. The field will provide limited propulsion, not as fast as a proper drive, but enough to get you to the Cygnus Sanctuary." Jackson paused. "But there's a cost. To generate a field that size, I'll need to push the Stormbreaker's core beyond safe parameters. The ship probably won't survive." Understanding dawned in Neira's eyes. "You would sacrifice your vessel for us. Why?" Jackson's expression hardened. "Because 10 years ago I watched the Empire do to my homeworld what they're trying to do to yours. I was the only survivor." He shook his head. "No time for stories. The Void Hammer will be ready soon. Have your engineers meet me at the docking port." On the bridge of the Dominance, Admiral Voss watched with cold calculation as technicians made final preparations to the Void Hammer. The weapon had never been deployed in actual combat. All previous tests had been conducted on uninhabited moons or asteroids. "Void Hammer at 80% charge, Admiral," reported his weapons officer. "Target lock established on both the Vexaran vessel and the human craft." "Excellent." Voss's cybernetic eyes tracked the tactical display. "The human's interference is unfortunate but ultimately irrelevant. This incident will demonstrate the futility of resistance to Imperial authority." "Sir," his second-in-command ventured, "firing the Void Hammer this close to our own disabled vessels violates safety protocols. The gravitational shear could." "Could what, Commander?" Voss interrupted, his voice dangerously soft. "Destroy ships that have already failed in their duty, eliminate crews who allowed a single human to outmaneuver them." He turned to face the officer. "Perhaps you'd prefer to join them." The commander stiffened. "No, sir," proceeding with the firing sequence. Back at the Horizon's promise, Jackson's docking procedure had been completed with remarkable speed. 3 Vexaran engineers, Trell, Zenith, and a third named Meridian, stood in the cramped cargo bay of the Stormbreaker, their scales shifting colors rapidly as they examined the ship's quantum core. "Remarkable," Meridian whispered, her fingers hovering over the pulsing heart of the technology. "You've modified the Imperial design. These resonance coils aren't standard." Had to improvise, Jackson replied, linking a cable from his neural interface directly to the ship's mainframe. The original design was meant to destroy, not protect. I'm going to need your help to reconfigure the field projectors. As they worked, Jackson's AI continued monitoring the Imperial flagship. Void hammer charging, 90% complete. Estimated time to firing, 7 minutes. Jackson's hands moved with practiced precision, rerouting power systems and modifying code sequences. We'll need to extend the field projectors through your ship's hull. Can your people handle that? Trell nodded. We'll need to sacrifice our remaining shield generators, but yes. Do it, Jackson ordered, and evacuate all non-essential personnel from the outer sections. When we activate this, the stress on your hull will be extreme. On the bridge of the Horizon's Promise, Captain Niira coordinated the frantic preparations. Families were moved to the central chambers, essential systems were shut down to divert power, and the ship's structure was reinforced where possible. Through it all, she maintained a calm exterior, though her scales had settled into a deep, determined blue. Status report from engineering, she requested. The human and our team have finished the modifications, came the response. Field projectors are in place. They're ready to activate on your command. Niira took a deep breath. Very well, signal all sections to brace for unusual gravitational effects. She opened a channel to the Stormbreaker. Jackson, we're ready. Jackson stood in the heart of his ship, neural cables connecting him directly to the quantum core. Good. When I activate this, you'll feel a massive surge throughout your vessel. Your artificial gravity will fail temporarily, and then you'll experience acceleration unlike anything your ship was designed for. It won't be comfortable, but it should keep you intact. Understood, Niira replied. And you, will you transfer to our ship before activation? Jackson's lips curved in a grim smile. Can't. Someone needs to stay connected to the core to maintain stability. The AI could handle it, but not against active Imperial countermeasures. Realization dawned in Niira's eyes. You're not planning to survive this. I've had a good run, Jackson replied simply. Make it count, Captain. Get your people to Sanctuary. Before she could respond, the AI's voice cut through the channel. Warning, Void Hammer at 98% charge. Firing sequence initiated. No time left, Jackson said, initiating quantum envelope now. Jackson closed his eyes, sending commands through his neural link. The Stormbreaker's quantum core flared with blinding intensity, its energy cascading through the newly installed projectors on the Horizon's Promise. Space around both ships rippled, distorting like heat waves over desert sand. On the Dominance, alarms blared across the bridge. Admiral, the tactical officer shouted. The human vessel is generating an unknown field effect around the Vexaran ship. Voss leaned forward, his cybernetic eyes calculating rapidly. Impossible, no field generator has that capacity. He turned to his weapons officer. Fire the Void Hammer, now. But sir, the target is changing state. Fire. The Void Hammer unleashed its terrible power, a concentrated pulse of gravimetric energy designed to tear matter apart at the molecular level. The pulse streaked across space toward the interlinked vessels, a visible distortion in the fabric of reality itself. Inside the quantum envelope, Jackson felt the approaching weapon through his neural link. With a thought, he adjusted the frequency of the field, converting the Stormbreaker's core from defensive to reactive mode. As the Void Hammer's pulse struck the quantum envelope, something unexpected happened. Instead of being torn apart, the envelope absorbed the energy, incorporating it into its own structure. The field around both ships flared golden, then crimson, expanding outward like a newborn star. What's happening? Niira's voice came through the channel, tinged with awe and fear. Jackson's response was strained, his consciousness stretched thin by the neural connection. The quantum field is using their own weapon against them, channeling the energy. On the Dominance, Admiral Voss watched in disbelief as the gold and crimson energy field expanded toward his ships, moving faster than any vessel could escape. Impossible, he whispered. The quantum field engulfed the Imperial ships, not destroying them but rendering them inert, their power systems, weapons, and engines neutralized by fundamental forces gone wild. The Dominance itself shuddered as system after system failed, leaving only life support and minimal gravity. Inside the Stormbreaker, Jackson was connected to it all, feeling the Imperial ships go dark, feeling the Horizon's Promise surge forward as the quantum field propelled it toward freedom, feeling his own ship begin to break apart under the strain. Field stability at critical threshold, his AI reported. Core containment failing, recommend immediate evacuation. Too late for that, Jackson replied through gritted teeth. Transfer all ship functions to my neural link, divert life support to field maintenance. Captain, the AI hesitated. That will result in your biological functions ceasing within approximately 3 minutes. I know, Jackson's voice was calm. Just make sure the Vexarans get clear first. Aboard the Horizon's Promise, the crew watched in amazement as their ship accelerated through space, the quantum field propelling them away from the disabled Imperial fleet. The stars streaked by outside their viewports, beautiful and impossible. We're clearing the Imperial blockade, Trell reported, his scales shifting to bright gold. Current velocity exceeds anything our engines could have achieved. Captain Neira stood silently, watching the tactical display as the distance between them and the Imperial ships grew. But her attention was fixed on the small craft at the center of the quantum field, the Stormbreaker, now visibly breaking apart as the energies it channeled tore through its structure. Open a channel to Jackson, she ordered. When the connection established, static filled the speakers. Then weakly, Captain, good to see, you're clear. Jackson, the quantum field is still active. Can you disengage and follow us? A soft laugh came through the static. Ship's a little past its warranty, but don't worry, field will hold long enough to get you beyond Imperial space. Neira's scales shifted to the deep blue of morning. We will not forget your sacrifice, Jackson Reed. Your name will be honored among the Vexaran people for as long as we exist. Just live, Jackson replied, his voice fading. That's honor enough. The communication cut off as the Stormbreaker fractured further, its hull splitting in multiple places. Yet somehow, impossibly, the quantum field remained intact, continuing to propel the Horizon's Promise forward. In the cockpit of the dying ship, Jackson Reed's consciousness expanded beyond his failing body, merging with the quantum field itself. In his last moments of awareness, he saw not darkness but light, a symphony of energy dancing across the void, carrying the Vexarans to safety. 3 days later, the Horizon's Promise drifted into the Cygnus Sanctuary, its hull bearing the scars of its journey but its precious cargo of 300 Vexaran refugees intact. The quantum field had dissipated hours earlier, leaving them adrift but safe in neutral space. As Captain Neira stood on the bridge watching sanctuary ships approach to assist them, her scales shifted to a color rarely seen among her people, a deep, resolute gold tinged with crimson at the edges. It was the color of fire against the darkness, of hope reborn from despair. Have our historians begin the recording, she ordered quietly. Let all people know the story of Jackson Reed, the human who turned the sky to fire. Around her, the crew's scales rippled in agreement, reflecting the same determination in their own patterns. They had been given a second chance and they would not waste it. The Empire had taken their homeworld, but thanks to one human's sacrifice, they still had their future. In the void where the battle had occurred, Imperial salvage crews sifted through the wreckage of the Stormbreaker, searching for the secrets of its technology. But they found only twisted metal and burned-out systems. Nothing to explain how a single human pilot had defeated an Imperial fleet and changed the course of history. The secret had died with Jackson Reed. Or perhaps, as some Vexarans would later suggest, it hadn't died at all but had transformed, becoming part of the cosmic dance of energy that filled the spaces between stars. A dance that would one day welcome them home.